Merry Christmas and welcome back to my channel, Ragamuffins. My name is Raggyrog and today I am bringing you a video that I've been wanting to make for a little while now, in which I talk about the new fire starter from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, that is Skeledirge. That is the fully evolved form of Fuecoco, and I made a video about him not that long ago where I talked about what I think is going to happen with him. That was before the release of the game, but the game has been released now, so we know a lot more. So the idea is today that there are a few things that I really like about Skeledirge, and then there's a few things that I don't really like all that much. I didn't want to make a video where I just list off a bunch of things that I hate about him, but I didn't want to make the opposite either. So instead today I'm going to be making a video where I list off 5 things that are pretty unique about Skeledirge. Now, it's not to say that these are going to be things that affect only him, but they may affect him exclusively within a certain niche, and you're going to see what I'm talking about here. So, without further ado, we're just going to get into it. The first one on this list today is actually going to be something I talked about in the video I made about Fuecoco, and that is the nuance of all fire starter Pokemon being based on animals from the Chinese zodiac. Now, I'm quite disappointed with this from Skeledirge because, as I mentioned in that previous video, at the time of making it, there were only 4 animals remaining that could be chosen from the Chinese zodiac for a fire starter to be based on. And the crocodile isn't actually any of the animals in the Chinese zodiac. So my rationale here is that he either is not based on an animal from the Chinese zodiac, or Game Freak has taken liberties and decided that a crocodile is near enough similar to a snake, which was one of the 4 remaining animals. In that previous video, I actually also mentioned the possibility that, hey, maybe he'll turn into an ox. And if you don't know what I'm talking about there, I'll link the video and you can go and watch it and tell me what you think. Obviously, I was wrong. That video has not aged terribly well. But I'm pretty sure that the convention of Pokemon starters being based on animals from the Chinese zodiac has essentially been dropped with Skeledirge, and if not, and they just decided that's near enough to a snake, then I'm really disappointed with that. But that's the first thing about Skeledirge. The second thing also, and if I was right about the first one, then Skeledirge actually breaks 2 traditions with fire starter Pokemon, and that is that in his final evolved form, he is a quadruped, and that means he walks around on all 4s. Every other fully evolved fire starter is a biped, they walk upright. Even Typhlosion, who looks like he might crawl around on the ground, is very much an upright bipedal Pokemon. He might be semi-biped, he might like alternate out of convenience, but then you've got Skeledirge, who has essentially no choice but to walk around on all 4s. So this is a very small, minor thing, and a lot of people probably never noticed this, but after 9 gens of Pokemon, at this point, it's safe to say that it's probably considered a tradition. It's a standard, because there are conventions that are carried through and carried over, and it's just interesting to see Skeledirge potentially break multiple, so I have to wonder what's going on at Game Freak there. This doesn't break the game by any stretch at all, but it's interesting, I'll say that. The third unique thing about Skeledirge is actually going to be his typing, because he is a fire ghost type. Now, before you get your panties in a bunch, no, I know, Chandelure is definitely a fire ghost Pokemon, but he is the only fire ghost starter, and that's where he fills that niche. If you are looking for ghost-type Pokemon starters, then your list of options is essentially now him or Decidueye, but now we have a fire ghost option. It's interesting because over the years, we have established this standard where there are some types that are considered like main types, right? And that's like fire, grass, water, electric. And then there are other types that are kind of considered typically secondary, where you can have a Pokemon that is just a dark type or is mainly a dark type, but typically dark type will be included as a secondary. So it is a fire Pokemon with dark qualities, right? But in this case, it is a ghost type Pokemon, and ghost type I would consider to be probably one of the most overlooked secondary types, because of course there are a bunch of main ghost type Pokemon. But it's always a big deal when there's a new ghost type in any format, whether it be just primarily a ghost type or even partially so. And it's always fun to try and wrap your head around the rationale as to why it is a ghost type. And in my personal opinion, ghost type is one of the best types in the game, if even just thematically. My favorite types are fighting and ghost, and I feel like both of those types actually don't get quite enough recognition, so there you go. But I'm stoked that he gets to be a ghost type that fills a very specific niche for fire starters, and is one such way that he gets to stand out. So there you go. The fourth thing on this list today about Skeledirge is going to be the fact that he is clearly based on an alebrije. Alebrije are spirit animals, or guides, if you will, that are tied to the Mexican holiday Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead, a tradition that honors those who have passed on and allows them to come and see their relatives still remaining in the living world. Now, the spirit animals are creatures that are essentially there to help guide the recently passed into the world of the dead, if you will. And they are very similar to Skeledirge in appearance. They are usually bright colors, and you can see the design of the skull makeup on Skeledirge's face, which is a common convention tied to the Day of the Dead holiday as well. This is a really, really interesting and unique design. I do not think there are any other Pokemon in all of history that are based on an alebrije. It's very niche, and I think it gives a lot of love to Mexican tradition, among a great many other things. What I like about it in particular is that the ghost typing that we mentioned previously actually comes into this very well. Because the alebrije are associated with the dead and the holiday of honoring the dead, it makes sense that he would be a ghost-type Pokemon, such as how he is able to interact as an alebrije with the recently deceased. So that's actually really, really cool. Where I was kind of critical before about the Chinese Zodiac thing and the biped thing, on the other hand, you've got cool stuff like that where it's like, okay, they're clearly not short on good ideas. They are just taking things in a new direction, and that's not a bad thing, because now we are honoring holidays and traditions from around the world that a lot of people are probably not even familiar with, and I love it. I'm here for it. The last thing that I'm going to be talking about with Skeledirge in this video today is his ability. Now, this is actually really, really cool, because among all starter Pokemon, he is the only one whose hidden ability is Unaware. Unaware, if you don't know, means that the Pokemon with this ability does not take into consideration the opponent's stat changes. So, if the opponent uses Iron Defense a bunch of times and raises their defense to an astronomical level, it doesn't matter, because Skeledirge is still going to hit him as hard as he would have anyway, which is really, really useful. Pretty much every Pokemon in history that has Unaware as an ability has been deemed viable in the meta. Even the likes of Pyukumuku and other smallies like that. They have their niche because stat alterations are such a common and usually necessary part of competitive Pokemon that being able to just bypass that and not worry about it with a Pokemon like Skeledirge is the most useful thing. I was not sure how I felt about Skeledirge initially, especially when I saw him, because I know that compared to the likes of Meowscarada and Quaxly, whatever he turns into, his design overall was kind of like, no one knows how to feel about this, because it's not what anyone was expecting. I remember there was a lot of fan art floating around of what people thought Fuecoco might turn into, and we were really disappointed with Crocalor because he looked really dumb, and then Skeledirge was like, that's kind of a 180. And not in a good way. I don't know. But there you have it. We have Skeledirge now, who is automatically competitively viable. I'm not even going to talk about his stats or the spread thereof, because Unaware is just going to make him automatically useful no matter what. Albeit maybe in niche scenarios only, but with ghost typing on his side as well, it means that he's going to be able to take out psychic types easily and have a complete immunity to normal type attacks, which is always useful. In any case, these have been 5 things that are completely unique, or quite unique, about Skeledirge. It's a Pokemon that I've wanted to talk about for quite a while now, and it feels good to get it all off my chest. I don't dislike Skeledirge, he's definitely not one of my favorites, but I think that if I had to have a crack at using one competitively, I don't think I would have a bad time. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the Scarlet and Violet meta, so definitely down in the comments below, Give me your opinions. Tell me what you think of Skeledirge. Is he a competitive powerhouse, or is he outshone by some other Pokemon that I haven't considered? In any case, if you enjoyed the video today, then make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and make sure to hit the bell icon as well so you can get instant updates anytime there is a new upload. As always, thank you so much for watching my video today, Ragamuffins. It really means a lot to me. I will see you in the next video. Have a good one!